Okay.
I just started it, so we're live now.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. I want to welcome everybody to the Town Planning and Zoning Commission for November 22nd, 2021. And first thing, if you could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, and indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next thing on our agenda is a roll call. And if Noreen, if you could do the roll call, I'd appreciate it.
Chairman Payne,
Here.
Commissioner Claffey,
Here.
Commissioner Fox,
Here.
Commissioner Havens,
Here.
Commissioner Linares,
Here.
Commissioner Sobieski,
Yeah.
Commissioner Woods,
Here.
Commissioner Braverman, Commissioner Gill,
Here.
Commissioner Haggerty.
Here.
All set.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're at the approval of the agenda. I'll ask the town planner if she'd
Mr.
like.
Chair,
Yes,
yes, Mr. Chair, I will ask you to ask the commission if they would like to vote and move the item petition number 4221, petition for the zoning map change at a Culver Street area from old business to begin for your consideration above the new business. So if you could reverse item 7 old business with item 8 old business with item 7 new business, and
Okay.
hear this application before we move on to a new business. The reason for that is that most people, most attendees in the room are here for that reason. And if we could get that out of the way sooner, then perhaps some of them will opt not to sit through the rest of the meeting. Everybody, however, of course, is welcome to continue and watch us during the new business.
I think that makes a lot of sense and I have no problem with it myself. I don't think we need to vote on it, but let me ask my commissioners how they feel about it. Right down the line, Commissioner Claffey.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, Commissioner Fox,
Fine with me.
Commissioner Havens.
I don't have an issue with that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Linares,
I'm fine with that.
Commissioner Sobieski,
I'm fine with it.
and Commissioner Woods.
I'm fine with it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we will move, we'll make 7 old business petition number 42-21, and then 8 will be new business. The next thing on our agenda is public participation for items not listed on our agenda. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. If there's anybody wishing to speak within the Zoom application, raise your hand if you'd like to participate during public participation. If calling in the Zoom meeting by telephone, dial *9 to raise your hand to be recognized, or use *6 when recognized to speak by telephone. State your name and address for the record, please. And I don't think we have anybody with their hands up. Correct, Eric?
1 second. No one has their hand up.
Okay. Okay, very good.
Hold on, we did just get one that just held their hand up.
Mary Gray,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
Hi there.
1 second. Go ahead. Oh, Ron, are you going to speak? Sorry.
Go ahead, Ms. Gray. Please state your
Hi.
name, address for the record.
Yep, Mary Gray, 35 Little Brook Drive. I didn't realize there would be public participation, but I just wanted to say that I feel like the town TPZ committee needs to work in the best interest of the community, and without the citizens, without the residents, there is no town. So I just hope that they consider the best interest of the residents when making this decision. There's lots of data that could go back and forth. But the bottom line is the residents are in opposition to this zoning change.
But
And
excuse-
I think
Excuse me, Mary, excuse me 1 second. You
Yeah.
could talk in general, but there is no communication, public speaking concerning items that we have on our agenda. So that item that you're talking about is actually on our agenda. And so if there's something in general you'd like to say, that's fine, but nothing pertaining to that application.
okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, is there anybody else wishing to speak?
No one has their hand up.
Okay, remarks by commissioners. Is there any remarks from commissioners? Okay, next thing on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. After reading them myself, I saw that there was a lot of spots that were inaudible. And I'm going to ask the town planner for a report concerning the minutes.
Mr. Chair, if I can advise the commission, I would advise you not to adopt these minutes at this meeting and actually push the minute adoption to the next meeting. There are several errors and missing parts in the minutes that I noticed myself as I was reading through them, and I would like us to have a little bit of time to re-listen the recording and re-review the minutes and just make sure that we have everything that we need before these are adopted. They are in a draft form. They're posted on the website as is required by the state law, and you can not adopt them at this meeting tonight. You can actually postpone that to.
Okay, I think that would be wise to make sure that they're all corrected right. So we get a chance to read them and then vote on them. So I would entertain a motion to table the minutes of 11.
I'm gonna tell you.
10:20.
So moved. Fox.
Second.
The chicken I had to throw out.
What?
I have it.
Who's got, okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Fox and seconded by Commissioner Sobieski for tabling the minutes. Is there any conversation concerning this? Any comments, questions? Commissioner Fox? You all set? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anyone opposed? Motion carries to table the minutes. The next thing on the agenda is old business petition 42-21, zone map change from R20 to PD zone at 35, 65, 67, and 69 Culver Street and 258 Deming Street. Applicant AR Building Company Incorporated, owner RD3 LLC, and Gene S. Haltner. Contact Bongiovanni Group Incorporated, Alan Bongiovanni. So at this time, what I think would be best is I'll turn the meeting over to our town planner so she could give us an update and a recap of where we stand.
Mr. Chair, I gave a pretty extensive report at the last meeting, as you recall. What I can recap on this application is that the commission held 3 nights of hearing on this. We had significant amount of residents from the immediate and adjacent neighborhood came in and speak in opposition to this proposal. There were few property owners that spoke in support of this proposal. My office received 2 petitions from the neighbors. In order for those petitions to change the way you are required to vote, the petitions needed to meet a requirement of 20% of area within 500 feet of the parcels that are seeking zone change. Two petitions did not meet that requirement. The first one we evaluated at 5.9%, the second one at 8.9%. So your vote is going to be a normal, regular majority vote to act on this application tonight. I will remind you that in your deliberations tonight, consider the plan of conservation and development to, as you can see in a draft motion, we included some language that we found could be referenced if you decide to do so tonight. The other thing to consider are what we call a comprehensive master plan, which consists of our zoning regulations and the surrounding zoning designations. And also, I will advise you to limit your deliberations to what was discussed during these proceedings, what was entered into record. So just be mindful that, once we close the public hearing, if there was anything that you noticed on social media or, somebody approached you after that, that kind of consideration cannot be entertained at this time. So that is all that I'm going to say tonight. I think at the last meeting, I spoke quite a bit to this application, unless there are clarifying questions.
Okay. Let's go to commissioners' questions. If commissioners have any questions for Renata concerning this application, please raise your hand. Well, let me start it off. I'll say that I think we've had an extensive public hearing. We've heard from the public. We've heard from the applicants. I believe after reviewing the POCD that this project is consistent with our 2030 plan of conservation and development in several different areas. I also think that the zone change is appropriate because I don't think that having R20 single family lots, which are our biggest residential lot, sandwiched between a PD zone and a residential planned development zone is appropriate. I have confidence in this developer that he's going to bring in a nice development. If not, then it won't get approved as far as a special permit, but I believe that he has good intentions and that they are planning on presenting something very nice for the neighborhood. I think it's going to blend into the neighborhood better than the people really understand. After hearing all the traffic concerns, I think we had the traffic expert go back and take traffic counts. And I believe it's been determined that we do not have any traffic issues over there. We do have existing conditions with 85% of the people in that area now speeding. I even have to catch myself sometimes driving into neighborhoods to slow down, take a deep breath and slow down. And I think all our neighborhoods would be better if everybody did that. So we shouldn't be speeding and going through our stop signs in our own neighborhoods. I believe that it is appropriate to have this type of development proposed. Having luxury apartments next to condos and other apartments, I think is a good blend. As far as the crime, I absolutely do not believe that luxury apartments is going to bring crime. I've already had 3 instances this past week with crime in my neighborhood and in my family with at my house or my commercial building. The crime is out of control lately, and it's not because of this new development. And I think the public should be doing something about it. They should be crying to their public officials to do something about it. And it's not just juveniles, it's all types of crime. But I do not believe that a luxury apartment is going to add to the crime. I believe they've complied with everything. And I'm in favor of this. I believe that this will be a good zone change for the area. There was quite a few things to take a look at. I've read all the minutes. And Renata's comments the last meeting were very helpful. And we'll open it up now to the other commissioners. If you have anything, other commissioners, Commissioner Fox, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me, excuse me. You spent a good amount of time talking about the development itself and how good it would be for the community, and it's a good development. It looks like a very pretty development, but we're not, as far as I'm concerned, we're not voting on the development right now. We're voting on the change from R20 to PD. And as you know, I've seen in the past, you change something like that right to PD. I think you're opening up a can of worms. Now, the planner meeting before last, or last meeting, I don't remember, had suggested that you know, nobody would want to put a business there, and so why worry about it? I still worry about it because you don't know what's going to happen with that development, and if they don't use you know, everything there, and you know, and still donate some of the forest area to the town, which is a very, you know, very nice gesture. You know, I'm sorry, you know, there are too many as of right projects or that can go in there, and so you know, those are my feelings. I won't vote for it. Thank you.
Dominic, you're muted. Dominic.
Thank you, Commissioner Woods. As far as the zone change, I was talking about the zone change. I believe that the zone change is appropriate. As far as the special exception, I think they have to present that to us, and it hasn't been presented to us in detail. I like the concept, but I'll reserve my comments on the special exception until they propose it. But as far as the zone change, the idea of having apartments there, luxury apartments, and changing the zone, I feel is appropriate. And now I think there was a few others that Vice Chairman Claffey had his hand up. Go right ahead.
My comment is discussing at the end of the meeting, at our last meeting 2 Wednesdays ago, or excuse me, a week and a half ago. I want to make sure, and I may speak of it later, I just want to make sure that the Commissioner Lenars and Commissioner Woods were satisfactory to the question that Commissioner Lenars brought up. And I think Renata was looking into that or more. You know, I just want to make sure their needs and wants were met or not met, you know, for this discussion.
Okay. Commissioner Sobieski?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a concern about the zone change because of the negative impact it'll have on the area property owners. You may not think so, but I've seen areas that we've made zone changes and traffic has increased and all this other stuff. Also, an effect of the quality of life, additional to the noise and air pollution. That's something you can't control if we let this go through. It's stated that in 3.19 also that any development in a PD zone in the Berlin Turnpike area must have direct access specifically to the Berlin Turnpike. Let me finish, please. It doesn't say via, and that's of concern to me because if this doesn't go through, and again, echoing Commissioner Fox's concern, if this doesn't go through, or they change their mind, we could wind up with a whole bunch of box stores with a back exit out onto Culver Street. So that's the reason why I am going to vote to deny this. Thank you.
Commissioner Sobieski, the 2.9 issue that you were talking about is an issue for the special exception. That's not on the table right now. We're talking about the zone change. So we really can't take into consideration anything with the special exception. That's hasn't been presented to us yet.
I understand that. I was just voicing my opinion. That's all.
Any other comments from the commissioners? Any other comments from the commissioners?
I got my hand raised, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, go right ahead, Commissioner Lenars.
That's all right. No worries. I don't know if the function's working or not.
Gotcha.
So no problem. So while we're all just kind of, I guess, giving our 2 cents onto what's going to happen when the vote comes, this has been a pretty long petition that we've heard about a zone change. And obviously we've heard, as we've all talked about 100 times, that there's more involved than just a zone change because we all talk about what's going to come on the back end if this is approved. But we've heard extensively from the residents. We've heard from the property owners and we've heard from the prospective developers as well. And I have to tell you, I've listened to every single person that has spoken, whether it be the petitioners, the neighbors. I was on this board a long time ago where there was some other petitions that came through that when we all know this, when petitions come through and development comes through and it's in somebody's backyard, it's never taken lightly. It's taken easily. It's always a concern, and it's true. It should be. When they came to I think it's Pulte there or the Toll Brothers, when Back Lane came in, that was a big upheaval. When the Pulte came on the Fen Road, the people that lived in Eagle Drive, and rightly so. Rightly so. It shows that we have residents in town that are concerned and that are paying attention, whether they're opposed, whether they're against or for. They're heavily concerned because it's in their backyard, and we have every right to protect that. And when you talk about quality of life, when you talk about integrity of the neighborhood, those are tough words to really convince somebody that a development's going to decrease the quality of life. I mean, those are some pretty strong words. I know they might not want to see that, but the property owner or the developer wants to see it, so you have to kind of weigh all the options. And in order for anything to happen with this, I think it's a very unique parcel within the town that it has 2 zones, that something has to happen. Now, I can't make up what the petition is going to look like in the future, but I know that the petition in the future, whether it be from this developer, another developer, or whatnot, if the zone change is granted, has to meet the criteria at hand. Very simple. And if it doesn't, it gets denied. It's very simple. So a simple zone change this evening, although might seem more complex, it's just a zone change. And if something comes down the pipeline and we can't hold that developer, that petitioner to the fire and say, you have to meet our criteria as a TPZ commission, what we have in our POCD, what we have from our residents' concerns, then it has to be denied, very simply. So summing up my thoughts, I think a zone change is warranted. I think some development on that piece of property is a thing that has to happen, and the zone change unfortunately has to be part of it in order for that to happen. I can't decide whether it's what if this developer came in and it was all R20, then we'd be talking about that. This happens to be someone coming in proposing apartments or condos. I don't know, but I have to take what's at hand. I thought I made a pretty conscious decision considering everyone's thoughts, truly and honestly. So I think a zone change, in my opinion, is okay. I don't think it decreases the integrity of the neighborhood. But going forward, people that spoke the last 3 public participations, please understand that what they said, their concerns will be held accountable going forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lenars. Great points. Commissioner Woods?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, Commissioner Lenars, I thought did a very good job. I just want to expand on a little bit. First, I'd like to thank Renata and her staff for being extremely timely in distributing all of the materials to us so that we could review it, which I have. And reading the materials, listening to the tapes, it's clear that this piece of property is going to be developed. And I think a zone change will allow this commission down the road to be able to have the tools to try to preserve as much of that space there as possible and still allow it to be developed. I mean, if you listen, and I went back and listened and read, the majority, not all, but the majority of people don't want it developed. Now, unfortunately, for the town, the way this piece of property was left, it was left to its heirs, and they decided not to preserve it. They decided that to seek development. They have that right. They also have rights. Again, I think by doing this zone change, it will allow us, if in fact AR Properties does come back to put up apartments in it, to have much more flexibility as to where the buildings go, where they are placed, where the entry is. I mean, none of that is set in stone. While unfortunately, once that plan got put up on the screen, everybody thinks that the entrance is going to be on Culver Street. Not necessarily so. Not necessarily so of where they showed it, if it even goes there. But that again, as David said, Commissioner Lenars said, that's down the road. In fact, they move forward. And the future development of this is also for housing is by special permit. That isn't even in front of us yet. So the horse and the cart are out of the barn. I think they're traveling in the right direction. They're bowling. The horse is in front of the cart, vice versa, which is what I like to see. And I plan on supporting this zone change tonight when we vote on it. Thank you for the time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Woods. Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment? Any other comments before we go into a motion? I'll entertain somebody to read a motion.
Make a motion that we approve petition 42-21 for the zone change map.
Okay. We have a motion on the screen. I don't know if you can see it, Commissioner Claffey.
Yep. You want me to read the whole thing?
Yes, please.
I will. Okay, I make a motion to approve petition
No, I'm sorry.
42-21 zone.
I'm sorry. You have to. Yeah, go right ahead and read the whole thing, and then read the propose a motion, and then we'll get a second, and then we'll read it, please.
I think Renata has something to say, Dominic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Renata, go right ahead.
Mr. Chair, we prepared a rather long motion tonight. If a motion maker does not agree with some of the stuff that we have put on the screen, then either don't read that particular section, or if you read it, you may just state that you would like to exclude that from the motion. But this is a proposed draft of things that we thought were compatible between the POCD and comprehensive plan and this development.
Okay. Commissioner Claffey, could you continue? Read the entire motion, and then we'll look for a second.
Make a motion that we approve petition 42-21 zone map change from R20 to PD zone at 35, 65, 67, and 69 Culver Street and 258 Deming Street. Applicant AR Building Company, Inc., owner RD3 LLC, and Gene S. Haltner. Contact Bongiovanni Group, Inc., Alan Bongiovanni. Move to approve the zoning map amendment with an effective date of December 7th, 2021. Reason for this approval: the proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with several provisions of the Town of Newington POCD and with surrounding zoning and land uses. Specifically, the proposed zone change is consistent with one of the POCD vision statements and the residential development strategy. 2, seek to diversify Newington's housing portfolio to provide housing options for a variety of household sizes, ages, abilities, tenures, and income group within safe and stable neighborhoods. 2, one of the overall goals for special opportunity area Y, 2, maximize possibilities at opportunity sites to accomplish the overall goals of the POCD. Three, policies of the Economic Development Chapter. 2, grow the grand list and provide net tax revenues to support local services. Seek to improve the attractiveness of Newington, both economically and physically, in the order to attract economic development and increase the focus of economic opportunity areas. 4, existing zoning designations and uses in the area. PD zone abuts subject area to the west and north. RP residential planned and RD residential designed abut to the south and are across the street due east. Both districts are occupied by multifamily residential use.
That's it, I believe.
Okay, we have a motion from Vice Chairman Claffey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded by Commissioner Woods. And it's up for discussion. Is there anybody that would like to discuss anything on it?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just a question for Renata, if I may.
Sure.
Why the effective date of December 7th? Is that a statutory requirement? Does that mean something?
It is not. My office needs some amount of time in order to actually get our GIS offsite GIS consultant to recreate this map. In order for the map to be legally effective, it has to be graphically changed and posted at the town clerk's office. So I always have to give myself a little bit of time to publish the legal notice about the decision, to produce this map, to file it with town clerk, which is why I normally take about 2 weeks
Okay.
in order to get this effective.
Thank you for the explanation. I appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, Noreen, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Surely. Commissioner Claffey,
Yay.
Commissioner Fox,
Nay.
Commissioner Havens,
Yes.
Commissioner Linares,
Yes.
Commissioner Sobieski,
No.
Commissioner Woods. Commissioner Woods,
Yes.
Chairman Payne,
Yes.
5-2 in favor.
5 and 2. Thank you very much, Noreen.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to new business. Our next thing is petition 25-21, an extension of map filing deadline for residential subdivision at 285 Connecticut Avenue. Michonne Estates, applicant and owner Larry Webster Associates LLC, contact Bongiovanni Group Incorporated. I'll go to the town planner.
Mr. Chair, we received an email requesting a 90 days filing extension for the Mylar for the recently approved subdivision at 285 Connecticut Avenue. This is allowed under state statute, and the commission has authority to give this filing extension.
Any questions from the commissioners?
Just one question, Dominic, or more of a comment, just to make people who are listening that this is a normal procedure to do extensions for subdivisions. I just want to, we've had a lot of public participation of late, and I just wanted to bring them up to speed on how we do things at times.
Mhm. Yes, it is normal once to extend these. Is there any other commissioners that have a question or comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would just say we move it to old business for action tonight,
Okay.
petition 2521.
Okay, a motion has been made by Commissioner Woods to
Second,
move petition 25-21 to old business,
second by Clappy.
seconded by Vice Chairman Claffey. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Next petition, 27-21, extension of map filing deadline for residential subdivision at 293 Connecticut Avenue, Michonne Estates, applicant and owner Larry Webster Associates LLC, contact Bongiovanni Group Incorporated. This is the other side of their development, and same thing goes here. They're asking for a 90-day extension.
I make a motion that we move it to old business, act on tonight.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Commissioner Havens. Any questions? All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Anyone opposed? It was unanimous to move petition 27-21 to old business for action. Next thing on the agenda is the discussion of commercial vehicles. I'll turn it over to our town planner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Eric, if you can display the actual text of this. As the commission remembers, probably, actually not probably, but way better than I do, just before I started working here, you have spent several months, several meetings discussing revisions to the zoning regulations as they relate to the parking of commercial vehicles on residential lots. I suspect that this came as one of those situations where driving around the town, you would see a lot of company vehicles that people would either own companies and operate by phone from their homes, or would work for companies that would allow them to take these vehicles with them, and they would park them at their residential areas. So with that in mind, there are, as far as I can understand, several renditions of the proposed text. There was quite a bit of discussion with the commission. I included the copies of the minutes that I found. The original draft was different than what you can see on your screen. What I'm showing on your screen is, as far as I understand, the latest version, latest revision based on the last comments that were generated at September 2020 meeting between the former town planner and the commission. So I wanted to share with you the minutes. I wanted to share with you this text. I personally have never had an experience of actually having a regulation like this. So from my previous experience, I can't quite say how I think this will work. However, this to me seems a fairly streamlined application, or fairly streamlined language. It defines the commercial vehicle in what I believe are pretty clear terms. It deleted some stuff that I thought would be unenforceable as well. These backup alarms, that's hard for us to enforce. People will come after work. That's when neighbors are home. That's when everybody complains about backup alarms, and we have nobody here to even go and check. And I don't know if these alarms are something you can enable, disable. When an inspector comes to check, can you switch it off or something like that? So if you had time to look this over, and if this is the version of the proposed regulation that you would like me to put an application for, I have to start this process from beginning. I'm quite not sure what had happened previously. I understand that there was some commentary on previous planners saying we had to send it to CROG, but he never formally put an application on. So I had to sort of start everything from beginning. We had to send notices, do the CROG thing, and hold the public hearing. If you would like us to take some time and do some more research in this, then let us know that now, and I'll delay putting in an application form. But as it is right now, I think we could probably use this language as an application proposal, and then at the public hearing, have a discussion. The commission is not bound by any kind of statutory timelines on this. So if at the public hearing you hear information or learn of something that you don't like here, we can always go back, revise, and have a lot of time to do all that. We're not bound by normal statutory requirements that apply for petitions that are submitted to us. So that's what I have to say about it.
Very good. Thank you, Renata. I think it's important to continue this process. I would want to make sure that you had ample time to review this so that we could get your opinion on it. But if you think we could start off with this, then I'm acceptable to that. I'd like to hear from any of the other commissioners. Quite a few of them worked on this. So let's see what everybody thinks. Commissioner Sobieski?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I remember this started over 41 Sunnyside Road in Newington with a backup alarm guy coming home at 3 o'clock in the morning. At that time, I had suggested just try to disconnect that, and then the OSHA requirement said you cannot on commercial vehicles. I know we had done extensive discussion on this. There were several issues with there was a signage issue with the signs on the side of the vehicles. I forgot who it was. Somebody had magnetic signs on a 5-ton Mason. So, it's something that needs to be looked at, I guess. I guess because of the fact that more people are taking these vehicles home, and because of the pandemic now, they're working out of their house. So maybe it should be reviewed again. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And Commissioner Woods?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I do remember this. We worked actually really hard on this, and actually I think a lot of us thought that we actually moved it further along than what it is right now. And it's come back in front of us again. This is one of these ones you can never get it right, and we've worked on it really, really hard. We think that we've dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's, and I think anyone that's sat here for any length of time knows that it's going to come back and bite us at some point. But I think we've done the best job that we can. I have no problems with having Renata review it a little bit longer if she likes, although I think she's okay with where we're at right now. So I would like to see this move forward and get it in the books as soon as we can, if at all possible. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Woods. Commissioner Claffey?
No, just Commissioner Woods said exactly what I was going to say. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Lenars?
Yeah, thank you. I'd be in favor of this as well, to kind of give it one more go with Renata taking a look at it, and not to complicate matters, but sorry, Eric. I also think we all should lean on Eric as well to get his input, to see what he's been hearing, seeing in town since he's been in the position, just to kind of get his professional opinion and hands on this as well. Sorry, Eric, but we want you involved too.
No worries. Thank you, Commissioner. Honestly, since I've been doing this job a little over a year now, I have not had a complaint about a commercial vehicle.
Cool.
And that's other than the one that came up a couple weeks ago about Glenview Drive, but that was more of the home-based business. But I have not had any comments or concerns about commercial vehicles.
Gotcha. So your job is done.
All right. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Any other commissioners have any comments?
One quick question, Eric brought it up, and it just made me think. Since we have so many areas in town that abut the residential versus commercial, have we had any complaints? And you can look into this in the future. You don't have to answer it right now, but of commercial properties with trucks or equipment and cars or whatever, that coincide with like that butt up right to a residential property, et cetera. If you could just look into that, no big deal. If we don't have any, I just thought of it now. Because it kind of coincides like with the business, run a business, and the people park their cars all up and down the street. So that's the only question I have. It doesn't have to be answered tonight.
Mr. Claffey, we do
Yes.
have actually a resident that has complained over, as far as I'm informed, over years about his residential property is across the street. I think that's Kids Lane. And he, across the street from him, there is a gas station, and then there is a auto-related business, somebody who like does tinting or something like that. I believe there is an enterprise car rental agency there as well. He had complained about noise during the day when the business keeps the doors open, working on the vehicles. We have heard complaints about dumpsters at night, commercial dumpsters getting loaded and unloaded. So yes, where there are these intersections of commercial properties and residential properties, we do get complaints.
Okay.
With regards to this particular commercial vehicle issue, I have not had experience in any of the towns where I worked of commissions adopting regulation that would allow this in a residential zoning district. So, we can look at maybe some terminology, but I think it's really hard to know how impactful this will be until some time goes by and we see what happens.
Okay, I think sometimes these two items kind of run in different parallels in the code or the regulation in town. And I just want to make sure that they won't conflict each other then. And I don't think they will with this change because it's specifically to a residential driveway. So I just want to make sure if we're running them in parallel to kind of also look at that side of it too. Because we always get the 18-wheeler parked down the street from a homeowner down the street because they forgot that their resident down the street is a truck driver. So, and they've been resolved very quickly. So I just think we might have to cross-pollinate this a little bit just to kind of make sure we're dotting all the I's and the T's. But I think what we have is fine. I'm throwing it out there to Eric based on Commissioner Linares wanting him to do more work.
Okay, thank you.
And I appreciate that. I want to take one step back. I think I did get one complaint about a semi cab at one time parked in somebody's driveway. And when I went by, I did not see it, but I have seen on occasion other residential houses throughout town on occasion, but I haven't got any complaints about it. So maybe you want to structure some language to not allow that, because that is a big type item, obviously. But again, I think I did get one complaint about it, but I was unable to verify it.
No, I think I think as Commissioner Woods said, we hashed that out over time, and I think we've filtered it down to what you guys see. I think is a prime example of what we kind of have to just move forward with. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner. Commissioner Woods?
I took my hand down, Mr. Chairman. I'm fine.
Oh, okay, very good. Any other comments from the commissioners? Okay, Renata, I think you can, I know you have a lot of work, but whenever we can, we'll move this forward. And I think the next thing on discussion is driveway and parking standards. So I'll turn it back over to you.
She's muted.
Go ahead.
I said our town engineer was supposed to accompany me in this meeting, and I don't see him in the room. I think he's also on vacation, so that may be the reason why. But at any rate, as we were reviewing a couple of development proposals lately, aside from, I spoke to you about how parking regulations were considered by applicants to be too high and people couldn't meet them, and then they would look at these opportunities to defer the construction of parking or use TOD incentives. Similarly with that, we have certain standards that are related to the driveway and parking standards in section 7 of our zoning regulations. And Eric, if you can pull up that revised text, I would like to show that we heard from applicants are too, one of them is too demanding or too much. And the other one is too inflexible and vague. So if you look under this section, this is essentially site development standards section of our regulations.
Okay.
When it comes to driveway, we say in this section that we want our driveways to be 28 feet in width. But in reality, that's not really what the commission has been approving over time. So what you have been approving over time is, Eric, if you can show that map, yes, that. So what you normally act on and what you normally see on your applications is a 28 width at the entrance into the site, so at the curb opening. But then through the parking, we require 24 feet. When 333 Berlin Turnpike came in, they had quite a bit of concern with the 28-foot requirement, because the way it was written in our regulation, they interpreted that everything has to be 28 feet. So you end up paving more and occupying more of area with impervious surface, and they had a couple of areas of wetlands that they were trying to avoid and protect from unnecessary impervious surface. So what I would like to see, and then Eric, if you can go back to the first page, is a regulation that actually allows and that specifies you have 28 feet at the curb cut, which is, I guess, needed for trucks to turn in and cars to turn in and not jump curb. But then to narrow that to 24 feet, which is what we currently require, or 18 if it's angle parking, these are current requirements. And then I would also like to have the ability to perhaps reduce this 24-foot width to 22 when the town engineer and you, the commission, find that such reduction is not likely to result in unsafe traffic flow patterns. 12-foot line is a road. I think it's okay to probably reduce this to 11 in a commercial parking lot. We don't have to necessarily have such a width in the commercial parking lot. And there is a trigger for finding that this design, if reduced, would then be okay by town engineer and by the commission. The second one that I was made aware was problematic was this subsection F that talks about intersections between streets and driveways. What we require currently is a 25-foot radius. This I called the town engineer in Wethersfield, and I spoke to engineering department in Meriden. I contacted these two groups because those are people that I previously worked with. The Wethersfield town engineer told me that he would expect 25-foot radius to be at the intersections of streets, not necessarily when you have a driveway intersecting with the street. This radius is dependent upon use. So uses that require a lot of trucks and big trucks could need, even if it's not street to street intersection, could need 25 feet. However, small residential driveways need no more than 3 to 5 feet is what I'm told. So I was thinking about doing this and making it a range. So it has to be between 5 feet and 25 feet as it's approved by the town engineer and the Planning and Zoning Commission, because the town engineer needs to review this on a case-by-case basis and depending on what the proposed use is. So this stuff is new. We haven't really spoken about this. I wanted to show that this is not formal application yet. I kind of wanted to fix this a little bit as we are moving through our other regulation amendments as well. So if you don't see anything like screaming no to you, then I'll get this cleared by our town engineering, and then we can submit an application for this.
Okay, thank you, Renata, for that presentation. I think it would be valuable to make those corrections for the commission. I'll open it up to the commission for comments. I would suspect that, go ahead, Commissioner Sobieski.
Muted, Stanley.
Muted.
As long as the changes meet the Uniform Manual on Traffic Control, which is a DOT manual and a federal manual, fine.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Woods?
Yeah, I think Renata's on the right approach here. I like her approach to the rate to the spread from 5 feet to 25, because it definitely depends, on the use. So I think that's a good plan. I may be a little bit nervous on narrowing the 24 down to 22, but if they can show it to us on paper that it works, then I guess I could live with it. But I know, I think it's is it the Walmart Plaza? I think that is a relatively tight space between those spots. And I know it's a nightmare to get in and out of with a truck anyways, a pickup truck. Maybe with a smaller car, it's not so good, but that's probably not one of our better designs that was allowed to happen. But nonetheless, it's functioning and it does work. But those are my only comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other commissioners' comments? I think we can proceed with this, Renata. I think it'll be a good idea to go over those things, and we'll have another chance to comment on them when they're finalized. The next thing is we have a couple items on old business that's been moved. Renata, do you have a petition 21-21? So I'll entertain if a commissioner could read this petition 25-21.
Petition 25-21, extension of map filing deadline for residential subdivision at 285 Connecticut Avenue, Marshy Estates. Applicant owner Larry Webster Associates, LLC. Contact Bongiovanni Group, Inc. Move to approve the requested 90-day extension for map filing for the subdivision entitled Marshy Estates. Reason for the approval: pursuant to Connecticut State Statute, sections 8-25A, the commission may allow a 90-day extension.
Okay, we have a motion made by Vice Chairman Claffey. Do I hear a second?
Second, Commissioner Havens.
Seconded by Commissioner Havens. And I'll entertain any questions or comments. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Motion carries to approve the extension for petition 25-21. Next thing on our agenda would be petition 27-21.
Make a motion to approve petition 27-21, extension of map filing deadline for residential subdivision at 293 Connecticut Avenue, Marshy Estates. Applicant owner Larry Webster Associates, LLC. Contact Bongiovanni Group, Inc. Move to approve the requested 90-day extension for map filing for the subdivision entitled Marchie Estates. Reason for the approval pursuant to Connecticut State Statute, Sections 8-25A, the commission may allow a 90-day extension.
Okay, motion made by Vice Chairman Claffey. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Fox. Any comments or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Anyone opposed? Motion is unanimous to approve the extension for petition 27-21. Going back to the town engineer isn't on, so we're not going to have an engineer's report.
We have a public hearing scheduling, Dominic, sorry.
Yeah, public, I'm not under that yet. There was a future agenda form. I don't know if Renata wanted to talk about either of those two items.
Sure. So not so much perhaps about future agenda form. It's included for your review. It's posted online. Everybody can see what's coming up with the applications for the hearings. I did want to, since town engineer is not present, I'll take his spot and just give a quick update on a couple of other things that we also we need to report on. So I am scheduling a training, land use academy training for January 27th. I'm planning to hold that meeting as an in-person event unless there is like something happening with COVID that prohibits us from doing that. We will invite Conservation Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, Town Planning and Zoning Commission, as well as Town Council. This training, I think you probably had it at some point in time. It's provided by CLEAR, which is Yukon extension for land use training. And it is an excellent, actually, training. It discusses roles and authorities of each agency. It talks about, what is and is not appropriate to consider with various types of application. If there is any kind of overlap between the agencies, it talks about that. They will address an ex parte communication, conflicts of interest, perceived conflicts of interests. They will talk about just bunch of stuff. I have brought this training, which by the way is free of charge and available to all Connecticut municipalities. I have brought it to every town that I worked in, and generally after the training, all my commission members were very happy. They found it informative. They found the training very relevant. I think this is also very important considering that this is now a law. The commissions are required to obtain, each commissioner is required to obtain about 4 hours of training per year under the new statutes. So please mark this on your calendar. It's a Thursday night. It's going to be maybe 6 or 6:30, depending on their availability. And we'll schedule it with the other groups as well. I also want to talk to you about we need to start talking about accessory dwelling units and start the conversation to see whether we want to revise our zoning regulations to allow those or whether we want to consider an opt-out option for that. I had mentioned this to you last summer when this law first passed. And, since we have a deadline to opt out, which is, I believe, December of next year or January of 2023. I'm not quite sure, but we have a year. If we start talking about that now, we will have a year to complete the process. So I'm going to ask you to tell me when would you like to start talking about this. I can bring you what the state law actually says. We can even revise our regulations to show what that would look like in our town, and then we can continue conversation about that. But I don't want that to not be brought to you early enough so that, whichever option we choose, we have sufficient time to do it. I have been contacted by CROG. They are anticipating doing a TOD study, and they asked me to meet on site with them to discuss area which I feel they should be studying for their like regional TOD study. Now, my preference would be to do that at Newington Junction. However, considering that we also have a proposed, or that the town at some point discussed perhaps a train station near the Cedar Street, I want to ask you if Newington Junction is the right option for me to visit with them and talk to them about doing the study for, or should I focus on a different location? And the last thing that I will just say is, talking about Newington Junction, I had with the grant writer, we have submitted 2 grant proposals. One is to do a planning study to extend the multi-purpose trail that terminates at Newington Junction, and then connect that trail with, in West Hartford, there is a multi-purpose trail along Trout Brook. And the other grant proposal, I also spoke of this to you earlier, was to do a historic educational loop on Newington Junction, essentially to seek funding to put perhaps signage in front of the houses in Newington Junction, to do a little informational tour, starting at the train station and then directing people and groups to walk around West Hill and Willard, Chapman and Willard, and look at our historic assets essentially as a promotional thing. So that's the end of my report, and I will just ask you if you have any objection to me meeting with CROG at Newington Junction, or if you think I should do that in some other area.
Thank you, Renata, very much. I don't have a problem with you meeting them concerning the Newington Junction, and at least listening to them and seeing what they have to say. I'll turn it over to the other commissioners, see what they think. Commissioner Sobieski.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did ask about the train station, and the Newington train station is on track to be started. The funding is there. It won't be moved to anywhere else but Cedar Street. So if I was looking at it, I would look at that would be a priority to see what we want to put in that area. Just my opinion. Thank you.
Any other commissioners? Commissioner Woods, go right ahead.
Yeah, I guess my vote would go for Newington Junction. That's the one that we've talked about for quite a while now, trying to see if we can move that along. It kind of fits in with where we are. So I'd like to see that happen.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Woods. Any other comments from the other commissioners?
I would go with Newington Junction. We've had many hours talking about that of late, and we've had a lot of residents input, and they've come out in good numbers to our Zoom meetings, and hopefully when that happens, they can be in person and to really get the feel. So I'm in favor for Renata to take that action. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from commissioners? Well, I think that would be a start, Renata, and then we'll see what they have to say, and you can keep us filled in at our next meeting.
Of course, thank you.
If you have any new information. At this time, the next thing on our agenda, if there's no objection, would be public participation. I'll open the meeting up to the public. If there's anybody from the public wishing to speak, now would be the time. We have a phone number ending in 070. If you could state your name and address for the record, I'd appreciate it.
The phone number ending in 070.
Rose Lyons, 46 Alton Drive, and I apologize, but I missed Renata's part of the report regarding what CROG wanted to do at Newington Junction. I know there's been many discussions about Newington Junction. We have the Newington Junction study, but I thought that there was going to be further discussion when we could be back in person meeting, as people in the area were very concerned as to what might go there. So is CROG going to give some advice as to what might be acceptable there, or what they foresee for their vision for there? I know there's no back and forth. Maybe tomorrow I can talk to Renata, but I just was a little bit curious. I had another phone call that I had to take and I missed out on that part. Thank you all, and have a happy and healthy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Rose. No problem. I'll turn it back over to Renata. Maybe she can explain a little bit more to you.
Sure.
To the public. Thank you, Renata.
Sure, of course. Thank you for the question, Ms. Lyons. So CROG contacted me by email and asked what they're doing, and this is the best of my understanding. They're doing a regional study of the economic potentials of the TOD areas, and they're doing specific study analysis. They had in previous meeting, when they spoke about that, I jumped at the opportunity because they will be doing a true sort of a market study for an area, which is what I feel we need in order to move when it comes to Newington Junction, whether we're going to do the TOD or not. We kind of have to understand like actual market, like what would market support there. So when they said that they were going to do that, I said, well, please do one in Newington. And then 3 months later, here we are. So I guess, they are considering us for this. So my understanding is that they will do an economic analysis study that is site specific. It's a regional study. They're selecting sites along the CROG region to do this at. And I understand that there will be at least 3 sites in 3 different municipalities that they will be looking at.
Thank you very much, Renata. Is there any other questions from the public?
No one has their hand raised at the moment, Dominic.
Okay. All right, we'll go to remarks by commissioners. If there's any remarks from the commissioners.
One remark I have, I just want to thank Renata and Eric for what they've been doing. The neighborhoods are looking nicer, the town's looking better, but we have a long way to go with all our, regulations that might need updating over the near future. So I appreciate all that, and wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving this week. And thank you for adjusting your schedules to meet on a Monday.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Claffey. Any other comments from the commissioners?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go right ahead, Mr. Fogarty.
Was there a section there, Section 9 petitions for public hearing scheduling? Was there a change and I just missed that, or?
We skipped over it, but
Okay.
for public scheduling, there is one there. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, but it's a petition 50-21 zoning text amendment for medical marijuana dispensary. So it is on the agenda, I believe. Renata, do you want to touch on that?
We talked about this when we adopted our recent cannabis retail and production regulations and discussed whether we want to expand that to a different zoning district. This proposal essentially expands the use to additional zoning districts, and I think this is tentatively scheduled for January meeting. So we do have some time to look this over.
Okay, thank you very much, Renata. I'm sorry I skipped that section. Anything else, Commissioner Hegarty?
My last remark is have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from the commission?
Dominic, one question in regards to that public hearing coming up, and Renata, you just said it, that there'd be discussions and stuff. Is there stuff that you need the commission to look at between now and that public hearing, or no? I assume no. I don't know. I'm kind of now a little confused with your comment that we'd be discussing it before the public hearing.
We will not be discussing anything before the public hearing. We already talked about whether we want to expand this use. The proposed language will be sent to you if it hasn't been sent to you already. And we will discuss all the elements at the
Perfect.
hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from commissioners? I also want to thank Renata and Eric. They've done an amazing job with all the development that's coming in, plus correcting our zoning regulations at the same time. So thank you very much. And I want to thank all the commissioners and wish everybody a happy holiday. Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
We are.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.